I just think if you're curious, man, like I've always felt when you quit being curious, you really have some problems for two reasons. One, you either think you have all the answers,
Mm.
number one, which is none of us have all the answers, and two, you're gonna wither.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our mission is to inspire you to live your best audacious life ever. I'm your host, Audley Stevenson. It's always a pleasure to be here sharing this space with you, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us on this journey of exploration and growth. Today, we're diving into some thought-provoking topics that can reshape the way we approach our personal and professional lives. Just like a curious child who constantly asks why and what if, we're going to explore how curiosity can unlock new opportunities and insights, leading us to paths we never ever imagined. In our conversation today, we'll chat with Dean Cooper. We'll discover how embracing failure isn't a setback, but rather a stepping stone to success. Dean will share his insights on emotional intelligence and why it's critical for effective leadership, especially in high stress environments like sports. We'll also touch on the importance of self-reflection, mentorship, and building relationships as cornerstones for our growth. Now, you're probably asking who Dean Cooper is. He is not just a seasoned coach at the NBA level in the basketball space. He's a thought leader in behavioral economics and emotional intelligence. With a rich history that spans years in the NBA and at the collegiate level of the coaching, Dean has not only shaped athletes, but has also shaped minds. He's the author of the very insightful book, the Instruction Manual, which challenges conventional thoughts around failure and encourages readers to embrace their mistakes as learning opportunities. Dean's extensive experience in high-pressure environments really makes him the perfect guest for today's episode. He has a unique perspective that blends the world of sports with essential life skills, offering invaluable lessons that resonate far beyond the basketball court. As we unpack his philosophy, you'll see how his insights can be applied to any area of our life, making this conversation a must listen. So now we've got the table set. Let's turn to our conversation with Dean Cooper. Enjoy. Hey, Dean, thanks for joining me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, my friend.
Yeah, Ollie, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to it. I've listened to bits and pieces when I go on podcasts, and I love the approach. I love your energy, and really looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, again, thank you. As I was saying off the top, this is, for me, it's a love, a passion, and very much you're helping me fulfill my mission by being here. So I want to extend my appreciation right back to you. Here on this podcast, our message is really simple. We want to encourage individuals to live their best audacious lives, and what's really I think really unique about this, and you certainly would I think take interest in the fact that we're on our path, we're on our individual paths and journeys, and we're going to have our own set of obstacles and detours and pitfalls, and you work through those. But I really think that and I know you talk a lot about, focus a lot around curiosity, which is a big topic for me. I absolutely love it. It's like, what's behind that door? If you pull that thread, what happens? Or who's
Yeah.
over there? What, like that? Those sorts of things I think add to the richness of life by being able to ponder, to ask, to question in a respectful manner. Obviously, we're not being here to create havoc or chaos, but
Yeah.
really from the standpoint of, okay, what's over there? Or what would happen if I do that? Those
Mhm.
are the steps to audaciousness, an audacious way of thinking, because sometimes you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know what's going to happen if you go there. So the only other option is, well, two options. You could not do it or try and see what happens. And so,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Well, in that regard, I think you kind of hit on something. The way I phrase it, you hit on a couple things, but the way I phrase it when you said, don't be disruptive, the there's a difference between asking questions
Yep.
and being questioning.
Yes.
Questioning is an interrogative thing, right? Asking questions out of curiosity is a totally separate thing. So I think you're right. Like, and I love how you say, you look behind that door, you pull that thread, and then you see where it goes. And um, I love it. I think it's something that's been always been a part of me. It was encouraged by my parents, and so I think it's a little bit of environmental impact, right? Like
Sure.
it's the household I grew up in, and then just it. I think a little bit of just my own DNA. I don't know where the percentage of those lie, but um, yeah, it's been good. It's got me on my basketball journey. It's got me at through different parts that, now having this website Space for Curiosity where I do blogs and
Hmm.
a bit around behavioral economics and emotional intelligence. Um, it got me to write this book, Fail
Hmm.
Instruction Manual. So I just think if you're curious, man, like I've always felt when you quit being curious, you really have some problems for two reasons. One, you either think you have all the answers,
Mm.
number one, which is none of us have all the answers, and two, you're gonna wither. You're just gonna mentally wither, and I don't want to be that guy.
I know, I hear you. Well, there's a general, excitement around curiosity, right? When you're like, oh, what's that? And sort of live in that curious space where it's because it really is positive energy.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be. The other point that you made with respects to not having all the answers, for me, I directly correlate. So for me, it's if you are a curious person, then you can't be a judgmental person because you can't have the answers and asking the questions at the same time, right? It's
Yeah.
one or the other. And when you're staying in a curious space, right, that allows you to be more free to try things, to reach out to individuals, to make connections, to start a business, write a book, start a podcast. All these things happen because you're curious and you're not pretending that or you're like, okay, let's try this and see where it goes. And the part around the see where it goes that I love is that's what you break down the doors and you can, create all sorts of possibilities. And so that's something that personally excites me.
Yeah, absolutely. I go when I go talk to like a group of usually like younger players, athletes and things like that, or I get a lot of calls. People find me on LinkedIn, younger kids, not kids, young adults who are in college and they want to get in the basketball business and things like that. And so they find me on LinkedIn. I've been on there for quite a while. And I always call back. Like, I think it's important to give back and things in
Sure.
that nature. But one thing I tell them is the answer to every question that you don't ask is no.
Right.
So just ask. The answer may still be no.
Right.
But if you don't ask, that's a definitive that
Yeah.
100% of the time the answer is no. Like, and the other thing I tell them, and I've always done this, fortunately, because of my resume and my journey, maybe I have a little bit of an advantage in this regard, but I did it when I was young. I could give you multiple examples, is I'm a cold caller.
Mm.
If you have something that I think can help me and become from a growth mindset,
Yes.
not from is I'm going to reach out to you,
Right.
and I've gotten a lot of leadership, mentorship, friendship, uh, opportunities because you're always one relationship away. You're always one relationship away, right? And I do it all the time. I mean, I go across the board from uh, one of my good friends now is Kevin Kelly, who's the football coach here in America, a high school coach, won a bunch of championships that doesn't punt.
Okay.
Annie Duke, the behavioral economic economist, card player, like like if I think you have something that can help my mind grow, I'm going to reach out to you. Not
Love it.
everybody gets back to me, but a lot of people have, and I've become better for it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I tell you, I can think of number of sort of instances in my life that the reaching out made the big difference. And so, and then you reach out, you all of a sudden you're in this space that maybe you weren't sure about when you got there, but now and then through being in that space, you make these connections. And so I totally get it. Interesting enough, and actually we'll talk about that. No, sorry, I'm gonna back up. Maybe let's give, because we talked a little bit about your career and what you do and what you've done. So maybe let's be more clear, just for our audience who, hearing about Dean Cooper for the very first time. Maybe tell a little about yourself, the work you do, and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah. Well, I'll just give you I'll go forward from early, day one
Sure.
I was born. I don't want to do that, but I grew up in I'll just give you the growing up part real quick.
Sure.
Is I grew up in a real small town about 25 miles northwest of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I come from a family of 11 police officers in total now. And great way to live up, but grow up, small town values, 4,000 people and things like that. And played baseball in college and got my degree. And I was going to go in economics. I was going to go to law school, but I really missed coaching. It's funny, I played baseball, but I don't have time to get into the whole story of how basketball happened. But I was really fortunate. Mostly the reason I stayed in sports, oddly, is because I wanted and not go into law was I want to put my hand in the huddle every day. I want to feel connected to a tribe. I want to have a common goal. Those things are important to me. It's what made me tick. So fast forward through high school coaching, small college, Division One. My first Division One job I mentioned to you before we came on was at University of Buffalo. And then I ended up in a place that I never, I didn't even imagine or could quite frankly think about, was in the NBA in '99 with Rudy
Mm,
Tomjanovich and the Rockets. And that was in the Dream and Charles
yeah.
era, Steve Francis and those guys, Yao. And then I stayed there. I coached, and then I went to the personnel side. I stayed there for 9 years, my first time around. And then I went to Minnesota for two, Portland for two, and then back to the Rockets. And I had my house there the whole time uh, in Houston, on my
Mhm.
permanent home, and went back there with McHale. And then that was during the James Harden era. And then I went to Utah for 4 years and Chicago too, and then back to college for 2 years. And then the last couple of years, I've been consulting with teams. Um, doing working out some kids here. We've lived in Nashville coming up on 10 years as our permanent home. Usually I'm doing my podcast downstairs where all my music equipment is. My wife's
Sure.
down there working out right now, so the treadmill's going.
Right.
But part of that reason, and then yeah, so I've been consulting, and then I'm a big reader. I read a lot, and I walk about 6, 8 miles every day. And as much as I love music, I don't listen to music. I listen to books and podcasts, things that are growth oriented. I
Right.
don't listen to sports podcasts. No offense to people who do it. It's just that's not my intention. So I consume a lot of information, and over the last 6 or 7 years, most of that has been around leadership and or behavioral economics and emotional intelligence. Kind of,
Right.
I read a lot of breadth of things, but
Sure.
that's the depth of thing. And that's
Hmm.
kind of how my book came to be is I wrote this book. Really, I hope to sell some books, obviously, but really the book is a vehicle to get people to have that. People think this book is about how to bounce back from failure. It's not. It's about how to fail. And the reason that I took that was I wanted to have a product where I could go in and talk to athletic departments and organizations about how to succeed. But everybody, John Gordon, and all these people are amazing. Stephen Covey, Anthony, they all go in and tell people how to succeed. So I was like, well, how about if I go tell people how to fail and come at it
Sure.
from a totally different
Yep.
and
Yep.
recognize this book is an A to Z book about basically dysfunctional and toxic behaviors. And it's kind of a Saturday Night Live skit. It's got a lot of sarcasm and it's
Okay.
a way to take the edge off having some difficult conversations and addressing some difficult behaviors that hold teams and organizations back.
Mm-hmm. I guess the starting point when we talk about how to fail is the why. I mean, people want to know, why are we failing? Why is it important to us? Why does it matter to us? I wonder if you could provide some context around the why to fail.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just show you a couple of, obviously, I have a little disclaimer in here, a fair warning to the readers. This book may cause you to take a deep dive, take self-reflection, personal inventory. As a result, you might experience the following symptoms, but not limited to, because that's what they say on TV.
Yeah.
Emotional discomfort, excessive sweating, increased heart rate, stomach knots, extreme fidgeting, hiding, like it's going to make you uncomfortable.
Right.
So, the book they're all real simple pages. You can see this
Yeah.
is A. It's a bullet point page. And so each letter, so A is avoid. Yeah, and probably and this was not intentional because I'm not that smart, but I think ironically, it's the most important sentence in the whole book is avoid difficult conversations. If you
Yeah.
want to fail, just avoid difficult conversations, and then there's avoid holding people accountable, avoid, which is part of that, B is blame, C is complacency. It's kind of a paragraph
Yeah.
page,
Yeah.
and it goes right down the list, gossip, have the meeting after the meeting, have the water cooler meeting, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, uh, be passive aggressive. P is passive aggressive. Be silent when you disapprove or disagree. Better a backhanded compliment than no compliment. It's
Gotcha.
obviously that's a sarcastic line. That's not, you know. So, and then the last page of the book is my favorite. Uh, I'm a Socratic thinker, critical thinker.
Okay.
I'm a big Socrates fan. And one of my favorite Socrates quotes ever is, I can't teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the purpose of the book. You can't be taught. You have to be willing. You got to be a participant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the book isn't about bouncing back from failure. It's if you want to fail, do these things. If you don't want to fail, try to avoid them.
Got you. Got you. Yeah. And I think so when we go back to, why people need to feel understanding of the what comes out of it, and again you made that point about the questions that you don't ask is going to be a no. Well, if you don't try, you're going to fail, right? And that's kind
Yeah,
of
absolutely. And
yeah.
look, these behaviors, it's unfortunate, but a lot of the behaviors in this book are
Hmm.
there are default behaviors. It's tough to have difficult conversations with
Sure.
people. It's
Sure.
it's easy to fall into the trap of having gossip and side meetings and having the meeting after the meeting. Um, as a boss, it's easy to fall into the trap of micromanagement,
Sure.
right? Like micromanaging people because you want to make sure it's done or, you know, um, and you may never, we all have some of these behaviors at least. That's part of it. The volume that we have, it's the term I like to use is now you and I might have one of these toxic or dysfunctional behaviors,
Hmm.
but mine in that particular category my volume now might be at 8 and yours might be at 2. And you may never eradicate them. It's just human nature, no different than addiction but once you acknowledge them and accept that you have them, as an individual and certainly as an organization, you can curb them enough and be aware enough that they will get you going in the right direction. And it is important to know what failure looks like. Uh, because if you don't know what it looks like, you don't know how to avoid it.
Mm, mm. Yeah, no,
You
it's
have to say the name of the monster before you can slay the
there you
monster.
go. That's a great. I think that's a great way of putting it, right? Like dealing with it head on, moving forward, and here's what it is, and being very clear what you have to deal with. Because I think a part about that too, as you get into the slaying monster part of it, is if you and again, I sort of talk when I talk about the topic of failure, I say, look, you know, if you try something, if you have one of two options: to not try, which we've established already, that's the equivalent of failing by not trying, or to try. And if you are unsuccessful at very swing, so you get to up to the batter's box and you're unsuccessful, okay, well you now have an opportunity because in baseball you got three more, you got three strikes, and so okay,
Yeah,
so I failed the first time. Let me, what adjustments do I make? What changes can I adapt in? Sometimes are there outside resources that we have to use to help us get better? These are so you have by failing, it gives you an opportunity to figure out how to do it right.
absolutely.
That is the benefit of failing. And then for me, the piece I've always really passionate about is once you've learned how to fail, once you learn how to do it right, you pass that along to other people and you help them on their own journey and cut their learning curve, right? And so, I think the benefits of failing are just enormous as far as I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at there's not a single invention in the world that is the happened it worked the first time. Not one. Like there's the the light bulb, whatever it is. Like I mean, fail, 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 fail. Now, thankfully, this would be a whole nother topic. But even though they're not truly failing, sometimes in those regards is it's there's something to have learned, right?
Yes,
Like
yes,
there's a nugget that moves you to the next
that's
thing.
right. That's right.
Because
That's right.
I mentioned Andy Duke earlier. She has a book called Quit, and she argues in the book like the negative connotation of quitting. The word quit is really prohibitive, and we should be quitting things all the time.
Hmm.
Once we figured out that they're not working, there needs to be what she calls kill criteria. Um, but if there's a nugget of, oh, there's a chance for improvement, there's a
Right.
chance, and then eventually you get enough nuggets, it falls into
That's right.
play.
That's right. Interesting enough, so I'm a big fan of acronyms, and so fail. I've heard is first attempt in learning. So to your point, right? It's not. It gives us that nugget. That's so fail is an acronym.
Absolutely.
There's another acronym that we use on this podcast a lot, which is very in line with what we're talking about. It's called the BOLD framework, and the BOLD framework essentially is it will help you live your best audacious life. The B in that framework stands for better than yesterday. So, yeah, you climbed that mountain last week. That was fantastic. There's another bigger mountain. Go after that one. You compete with yourself essentially. The O in that framework is I was outlast the norm. I was outlast adversity rather. So like I said off the top, there's gonna be challenges in our pathways, and where it's incumbent on us to overcome that to get to the other side, because that's kind of where the greatness lies. But to get to the greatness, you got to go through the crappy, not fun stuff, right? And so it's real about outlasting that. The L is live your truth, and really about being authentic and understanding that. So again, I'll go to the analogy of the path. That's my path. D, in the path that you took to the MBA and beyond, that was yours. That was meant for you. That wasn't me. And so, and I think the trap sometimes people get into is comparison, because they look and go, oh, so and so's over there. Let me go that way. And not that we can't take things from other people's journeys and lessons and things that they picked up along the way, but we have to recognize what is meant for our journey. And then the
Mhm.
the last letter in that framework, D, which is very much in line what we're talking about, is disrupt the norm, right? So the inventor of the light bulb, he failed a few times. I use the image of the Wright brothers when they're learning how to fly a plane, and I could just imagine the people around them were telling them that they're crazy and no one can fly and it's meant for the birds, and that's not what we do as humans, right? We stay on the ground. But
Right.
now flying is a part of our very much into our part of our fabric and how we exist. And so the point really is, the D particular, which I want to zone in on, is exactly what we're talking about. You've got to disrupt the norm, go off the beaten path. You spent some time in Portland. You got to be a trailblazer, right? So
That's right.
that's
That's
really
right.
what it's all about. So yeah,
100. I love that acronym. That's awesome. And you do have to. And the only way to disrupt the norm is to think outside the box. And
yeah.
everything, you know where that starts from? Curiosity.
Back to that again.
Everything starts with curiosity. It starts with a question. No, nothing has ever been invented or achieved without a question
Sure,
first.
sure.
You
Hey,
know,
what if? Like
what if?
you
What
think how
if?
powerful.
Why?
Yeah, those are powerful statements, and they open up the gateway to all kinds of potential and possibilities, right? What if?
Absolutely. And it's just a powerful thing. I mean, you think about what children, their favorite word from 2 to 4 years old is why.
Why?
And then the next question is why. And then the question after that. And then it's like never ending, right? And the reason that they're so curious, the other reason is they don't they don't feel shame. Children don't feel at that age, they don't feel shame or embarrassment.
Right.
So, no different than a dog. Like when I walk every day, one of my favorite things to do, my wife won't let me have a dog, but um, yet, but
You
yeah,
work
I
on it.
just love watching dogs because all the sniffing they do, they're just curious.
That's right.
Like and as adults, we fall into the trap of I mentioned we think we have a lot more answers than we actually have, and also it's unfortunate, it's super unfortunate, but it, it we we feel a little bit embarrassed sometimes if we seem too curious or we don't know something or because
Right.
we've had so many inflictive moments in our life that it makes us too cautious. Now
Mhm.
you can't be reckless. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in any way endorsing recklessness. I'm talking about
Sure.
healthy curiosity.
Yeah. No, and I think that's exactly it, and why the topic fits so nicely on this podcast, right? In terms of living your best audacious life. Well, a lot of that comes with questions and curiosity is a pathway to get you there. Something else that you also talk about is breaking the barriers of conventional thinking, which is challenging, disrupting the norms. Again, we talk about that. Um, I'm curious your discovery on this topic and what that meant for you, and how did you land on the significance of breaking barriers?
That's a really good question. I mentioned that my degree's in economics.
Hmm.
So, I didn't really, I never, obviously, I end up not going to law school. Um, and, but I guess I just always thought like an economist in terms of like trade-offs, right? And so, behavioral economics is a relatively new thing, mostly attributed to Daniel Kahneman and Tversky in the mid 80s. So if you look at that, you're talking about 40 years of um, study and emotional. So it was just through my reading and stuff. And then I sort of discovered it. And then the emotional intelligence was something I was like, because I pride myself doing the best I can. Obviously, sports, you mentioned it, you were the commissioner of the basketball leagues in Canada, it's a highly emotionally and charged
Hmm.
environment.
Right.
So looking back on it now, I didn't know what it was called 15, 16, 17 years ago, but I started to try to develop systems that would get us to make decisions based on fact,
Right. Right.
not emotion and
Yep.
because most decisions we base on emotion are not good ones.
That's
And then
right.
the other thing it does is my philosopher friend, who's a good bit older, he taught philosophy at University of San Francisco for 35 years. He has a great saying that I stole. He said, "You, what happens when you get emotional is you end up pointing your cannons in the wrong direction."
It's
And
true.
it's so true. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I just got mesmerized by it. And because I already think like an economist, so I think in terms of trade-offs. Everything in life is a trade-off, right? So there are very few things that are just non-binary, right? Everything is if you do this, then this. If you do this, then you trade off that. So that's really kind of how it came about. And it's been interesting. And then I try to bring in these other pieces, like I'm on the philosophy thing now because they're closely connected, but they're not. There's correlation, not causation.
Got you. Got you. Got you. No, I think when you talk about the emotions and what that does to you, you're absolutely right. I love that. I love that analogy, pointing the cans in the wrong direction. I mean, so as mentioned, I was a commissioner of NBL Canada for several years, and when we talk about emotions, one where we saw it, and we know that the sports is an emotional place, but there's times things happen on the court, and there's altercations or whatever happens, and you got to take action. And oftentimes, I would talk to the player and say, well, what happened, or what's going on, or what caused you to do this, and they're like, yeah, I don't know. And some of these guys, sometimes it's the nicest guy, right? The
Yeah.
nicest guy just snapped in that moment. Emotions got the better of him, and off he's doing something that you would never attribute him to. And so, we really need to be mindful of what our emotions do for us, what they can do against us, and just understand, they being emotional and a point of making decisions. It's not a good mix usually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, especially in those situations. I wasn't, when I said that, I was thinking more about like coaches trying to make decisions, not players,
Yep.
at reacting emotionally. But I'm sure you've had, and it's unfortunate, probably over my 20 some years in the NBA, I probably can recall about a half a dozen like fights that our team was involved in.
Yep.
Thankfully, none of them escalated to like the malice at the palace thing. I
Sure.
wasn't part of that. Um, but here's a I think I'm sure you heard players say to this if you had to address a behavior of that nature.
Mhm.
And these words are not synonymous, but we interchange them all the time, is emotion and passion. Those words are not synonymous, but
No.
people who are lack emotional control
I'm
will
just
say,
passionate.
"I'm just passionate." No, no, no. Passion is a care factor.
Yeah.
That's a care factor. Emotion is a reaction
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah. 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 I just
But
love what I do.
people
I'm passionate.
conveniently, huh?
I just love what I do. I'm passionate.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just passionate. Well, those are not that people conveniently interchange and substitute those words. Uh, they're not actually. They're two totally different things.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, Dean, as you're talking about your career and the journeys and the stops and different roles that you've made, it really, I would imagine that all of those things combined have really helped form and kind of shape your direction and your message or your philosophy. So I guess when you look back at your journey, what's kind of been the most rewarding lesson that you've learned, you'd say?
Wow, that's a really good question. No one has ever asked me that in that way. I don't. I can't say that I can point to a singular like moment,
Hmm.
but I can the reoccurring theme from different mentors that I've had along the way, starting with my parents, my dad mostly, is this. My dad, in some way, shape, or form, would basically say, water the grass where your feet are.
Mm.
And if take care of what's immediately you have control over. And I would tie that into this lesson that I speak to mostly to younger kids about when I go give keynote or speeches or things like that, is that to me is tied very closely to this lesson, is if you don't take care of the here, there will not happen.
Right.
And so often It's, well, when I get the next job, I'll start being better at. When I get to the next promotion, I'll start being better at. I'll change said behavior. I'll be more, and you got to take care of here now.
Right.
And over there, it will never happen. And I think for me, a large part of my success has been whatever you however you want to define that. Um, Certainly there are people that do things a lot more important than coaching basketball or saving lives and things of that nature. But however you want to define that, a lot of my journey is probably the better way to say it, has been a result of I've always been somebody that whatever my job has been,
Hmm.
my thought has been, I'm going to kick ass doing this better than anybody else who has this job trying to
Love it.
do the same job.
I love it. Love it. I love the mindset because yeah, it's like it's the here and now, I think the philosophy of what you do now sets you up for for the next step.
Yeah.
It's really really important, and so the time that in this present space, I'm gonna raise heck and cause havoc and create chaos and do everything I got to do to make up that noise, just that be that disruptor, and that helps you set you up for the next moment. And I think that's a really really good approach.
My dad had a great saying, and he was not afraid to use it. He would say, God rest his soul, he'd say, if you got to go, he would say, son, if you got to go around yelling about how good you are, you ain't that good.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Let people recognize your talent and what
Yeah,
your value add.
right.
You don't
Yeah,
have to go around yelling it. If you got
yeah.
to go around yelling it, that might be a problem.
You might. I think you're onto something. I think you're onto something. Dean, this has been an awesome chat for listeners that wanted to connect with you or get a copy of Fail, the instruction manual, which is your book. Where could we send them?
Yeah, people can go to space for curiosity, the word space, SPACE, the word FOR, curiosity.com. You can, the website, you can read quickly. There's kind of about my personal journey, my professional journey. I do a weekly blog based around kind of behavioral economics, leadership,
Mm,
emotional intelligence. I update that every Thursday. The blogs are archived. And it's about a 5 to 7 minute read. It's about 500 words because the purpose of the blog is to incite curiosity, not give the answers to the test. Like
yeah,
I want to whet your
sure.
appetite, then I want you to run with it and take it
Yep,
down whatever rabbit hole you want to
yep.
take it. And you can buy the book there, the electronic version, uh, downloadable version, and or the hard copy. It literally takes 20 minutes to read, but
Lovely.
a much longer time to think about and digest and
Yep.
have conversations.
Yeah, it's about whetting your appetite. I love that. I love that. Get people set on, get them on that path and the rabbit hole
Yeah.
that you talked about. It's awesome. Look, Dean, congratulations on the work, as well as sort of your own personal journey to get to where you're at. When you think about sort of the basketball travels and well, not basketball, in sports in general, that can take you in all kinds of places. And you'll be doing all kinds of things, and I don't think you're ever fully prepared for what's happened because you don't know what's going to happen, and that's sort of part of that audacious way of thinking. You go anyway, sort of a thing. And so you've definitely done that. So congratulations on the book. And again, I want to say thank you for being a guest here on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Thanks so much. I love your podcast. We had a great conversation today, and hopefully we'll get to do it sometime in the future. And thanks again for having me on. And I love I mentioned on the off air before we came on is I love the name of the podcast is
Mhm.
audaciousness, and live audacious, man. Like get out there and get it done. And I say I'll leave you with this. Like I say this at 57, I'm the best version of me that I've ever been. But at 58, I can't still be the same version.
Gotcha. I love
59,
it.
etc. So
I love
keep
it.
keep pushing forward, man. Audley, it's great and it's great conversation.
Much appreciated. Thank you as well. And yeah, with that, I'm going to keep going. So thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Awesome. Take care, dude.
All right, be well. Thank you.
Back we are here on the podcast. During our chat with Dean, he emphasized that curiosity is a spark that ignites personal and professional growth. He pointed out that every question we ask can lead us to a new insight, connection, and potential opportunity. I particularly loved how he framed failure not as something to be feared, but as a vital teacher that guides us on our journey. His insights into emotional intelligence were equally compelling, highlighting how understanding our emotions can lead to better decision-making and leadership. One of the main points that resonated with me was Dean's call for self-reflection. He encourages us to take personal inventory and confront our dysfunctional behaviors, which is a powerful reminder that true growth begins when we look inward. Dean's passion for mentorship and building genuine relationships shines through in his work, proving that we are indeed one relationship away from the breakthrough that we need. I would encourage you to connect with Dean directly. You can find his contact details as always in the show notes below. He definitely has a wealth of knowledge to share, and I really appreciate my time with him. He certainly welcomes conversations with those who are eager to learn, and again, he's a great guy to chat to, connect with, so I'd encourage our listeners to do so. He's also offering a special opportunity to purchase his book, Fail, the Instruction Manual, directly from his website, where you can find resources designed to inspire curiosity and personal growth. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, or share this episode if you haven't already done so. Your support helps us grow and reach even more individuals eager to live their best audacious lives. Remember, every step you take towards curiosity and self-discovery is a step towards an audacious life. Until next time, keep pushing past boundaries, living boldly, stay safe, be calm, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.